Hey there, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Content Waves, a podcast about content-led innovation and the people in the space who are doing some really, really cool things. This podcast is brought to you by the team at Kontent.ai, a leading content management system that helps organizations solve their most complex content challenges. I'm your host, Monica, and today's episode is really exciting for me to share because we are celebrating 10 years as Kontent.ai. So we wanted to take some time to pause and reflect and think about where we've gone and where we're going and some of the learnings that we can share with our community. Who better to do that with than one of its founding members? This conversation today is with Vojtech Boril, who is actually one of my favorite people at Kontent.ai. He's been my manager for the past 4 years, and it's been a total blast working for him. He shares his perspective on the industry. He gives some great advice, both professional and personal, and I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. So, hey Vojtech, I'm so glad you could join us on Content Waves today. How are you doing?
Hey Monica, great to be here. Yeah, I'm doing fine. How are you?
Yeah, doing fine as well. I'm really glad that we could find some time to chat today for this special edition of Content Waves, where we're actually celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Kontent.ai, which is the company and team who puts on this podcast. And actually, you're also celebrating your 10-year anniversary in a way. So I wanted to ask you, as we dive right in, as a member of the founding team, can you share, your take on the company's growth journey? Going from 5 employees to almost 200, from 0 to double-digit millions in revenue. So let us know what's your take on that, and also what's next for you.
Yeah, thanks so much for the intro. To be honest, it was amazing journey. And first and foremost, I must say I'm just grateful for being part of this ride. To be honest, like 10 years ago, when we were a small team of 5 people, we weren't thinking about like growing to 200 people or growing to double digits in millions or whatever the revenue was. We were rather like having fun and working hard on building a great product. And we were thinking about how can we help our customers. So I would say those, especially first years, were like true startup vibes. And I really appreciate I could be part of that. I had so much fun. And at the same time, I must say I'm just proud of what we built, because as we know, not every single startup survives the first years. And in our case, it was, I must admit, it was a little bit special because we, of course, were, as maybe some listeners know, we were founded as internal startup, as part of a company named Kentico. So it had, I must say, its advantages and disadvantages. But all those things were part of the journey, and I wouldn't change anything. So I'm absolutely stoked for the 10-year anniversary, and at the same time, of course, and maybe already some listeners know that it's also time for me to explore new things. That being said, even though it's absolutely heartbreaking for me, I realized that after 10 years in the CMS industry and after 10 years giving my everything to Kontent.ai, I also need to maybe even step a little bit outside of my comfort zone and get to know new things and explore more. So actually, after hitting this milestone of 10 years, I decided to move on and enjoy a new industry. But at the same time, who knows like what the future brings. Maybe Kontent.ai and I will come back together at some point. Who knows? I still love the company, but at the same time, it's time for me to explore.
Yeah, I mean, of course, when you first told me the news, I was super bummed because working with you is such a pleasure. But totally would understand the need after 10 years to try something new, especially what I know about you personally, that you do love to take on new challenges. You love, seeing what's out there and pushing yourself to the limits in a lot of ways. So it's a really exciting time for you as well. And I think we can all celebrate that on this episode. So I wanted to ask you, as this is quite a big change for you, I bet that comes with some reflection over, the good times of the past 10 years. But, as you look back when you were, closing those first smaller enterprise customers, you were that startup team. there was a different vibe, a different energy. What's something that stands out to you now about then?
Mm-hmm. I must say it's a tricky question. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can emphasize on one single thing that stands out. Yeah, I can definitely name some of the offsites when we spent a week in Mountain Cottage and we were like working hard, but also playing hard. Those were good old times. But at the same time, to be honest, maybe the biggest experience, apart from the feeling when we closed the first customers, yeah, that was such a great feeling that somebody appreciates our product and maybe even understands the value that the product offer. But maybe the biggest milestone was, of course, the spin-off from Candico. And when we realized, okay, now we are a standalone product, standalone company, and we need to make our own way in the world. Which was maybe even more challenging than we expected. Yeah? But that was really a big thing, and it was also a process. Yeah? That was the time when we also got quite significant external funding, and we grew on all fronts, and then we had to a little bit calibrate the strategy, and as every other startup, there were so many changes involved. So if I should choose one milestone, I think this was the spin-off. Yeah, but other than that, I think about Kontent.ai as the whole journey, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a significant milestone. I'm curious when we talk about what you really did over those past 10 years. What's some of the cool stuff from those early days that you think maybe could have changed a little bit over time, because now we are not in that sort of startup mode, but what's some of that cool stuff or cool learnings that you had from back then?
Mm-hmm. Again, tricky question, because basically all those 10 years I had the opportunity to learn every single day. But I must say, especially those first 1 or 2 years, I think provided us with a deep understanding and learning on how to even approach go-to-market, yeah, and how maybe to be a little bit disciplined, because if I compare operations back then and now, of course now it's mature, we have all the processes and technology stack and sales forces of the world and all these fancy tools. But back then we only had spreadsheets and Excel, but still there was not a single customer that we would not follow up with, or we forgot about, or we didn't call or something. We, I think, found our way how to really approach the market with, even though it sounds like very general, with true customer mindset or customer first mindset. Yeah. So I think in everything what we were doing, from products to developments to sales and marketing, we were really thinking about the customer first. Yeah. And I remember when we were doing the first demos, sometimes it was 2 a.m. for Australia and 7 a.m. for some countries in Czech Republic or still Australia. And then the next day in the evening it was US, so it was really busy. But I think the biggest lesson learned is really figuring out how to understand your customers and make sure that you are meeting their needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It can be hard to look back on 10 years and find those isolated moments or lessons when things are constantly changing. So I think in some ways Kontent.ai is a lot like typical businesses in SaaS, where the landscape's always evolving. There's ups and downs and pivots and areas of innovation. So when you look at the evolution of the market we're in, content management, what are you seeing, and what are you interested in maybe following, even after you take a break and separate your mindset from the market? What do you still want to keep track of?
Mm-hmm. Well, first I will of course take a break from CMS market, but at the same time I will follow, for sure. I don't think I will just cut the bond after 10 years. I think obviously, like easy answer is the AI, and how does the AI change the content management world? To be honest, I'm even a little bit surprised, and now I'm not talking about Kontent.ai, but rather the whole industry, that the incorporation or implementation of AI is not even more advanced at this point. So let's see what everyone is cooking. But I'm a little bit switching from the clear answer. But I would say, if I compare it 10 years ago, Content.ai was one of the first so-called headless CMSs on the market. One of the top or first three. And I must admit that even though we didn't know that back then, compared to today's situation, it was relatively easy to differentiate. Because if someone was coming to Content.ai or was approaching us and they wanted or understood headless CMS, that was already pre-qualified lead or pre-qualified prospect. While now, even though for many years we thought, and I think also some other vendors were thinking that there will be clear division between so-called traditional CMSs or DXPs and headless CMSs, what happened, especially in the past couple of years, is that it's merging together. And I can appreciate that it can even be sometimes confusing for the customers or the prospects. So I'm definitely curious to see what the next couple of years will bring, whether this merge will continue or whether there will be again some disruption, as headless was a few 10 years ago. I don't know, but I'm definitely curious to understand what is the development or evolution of the whole CMS market.
Well, you mentioned like from the early days that you were really focused on solving customer problems as well. So I think it's interesting to move from thinking about, vendors defining or disrupting, and also how you can continue to serve those customers' needs and the evolving challenges that they'll be having as well.
Absolutely.
So what's cool about you working, I think, in many different capacities in Kontent.ai, most notably for me, especially as VP of marketing, is you talk to our customers and you spend a lot of time with them and understand actually what the challenges content professionals are contending with every day. Those challenges, I can imagine, have also evolved, as you mentioned, how to bring AI into your workflows in a meaningful way. I have one question for you about what do you think content professionals themselves, so not looking at the vendor side, but the actual users of our platform, what do they need to be successful now, and how has the game changed for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love it because it can go a few different scenarios, the answer. But I would say, or the biggest change I see is that still, I think a few years ago, definitely 10 years ago, the content management and content production was very often, or respectively, content strategy was very often about producing more content and faster. But at the same time, what is now changing with the AI is that average consumer or average person is very often so overwhelmed by the sheer amount of content we all are consuming every single day that I don't think it will be about producing more and faster in the future. Maybe faster, but it will be more about the content that really brings results. Even though it again sounds very general, but I think every single organization will need to find a way how to really provide that single piece of content to the person who's really looking for that. Because if an organization fails to deliver this when the user is looking for the content, they essentially lose the customer immediately. So I think, or what I see now, especially with the AI boom, everyone creates or everyone can create content so easily, for free. So you may say even that AI is sort of democratizing the content production, but at the same time it's the quality that matters even more now, and of course content management systems play their role in the process, especially for the companies that consider the content production process may be more sensitive because they might need to have some approvals in the process. Yeah. So for those, of course, I think in plain language, like the approval process and governance will be even more important than ever.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to follow along. I'm still deep in the space and have to make sure that we can support our customers. But from your perspective, I want to probably reach back out to you and see what you think over the next couple of months when you've had that distance.
Absolutely.
So, we talk a lot about change and evolution. And so I really wanted to also get into the heart of your personal change and some of the exciting challenges that you're taking on, because I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned outside of, the conversations we're having about the industry. So as someone who actually really takes on a lot of new challenges, you diversify your time. I hear some great stories coming from you, what you did on your weekends or what you did on your time off or what you did between meetings even. Can you share a little bit more about, what you're involved in and what you're passionate about and how it shapes your outlook maybe on change or opportunity, resilience, some of these hard hitters that we could really use in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about this because, as you mentioned, I'm the person who loves to do many things. At the same time, what my executive experience taught me is to prioritize. So in a way, I need to prioritize every single day, also in my personal life. But first and foremost, I'm father and husband, and that's the first beautiful challenge to understand every day how you balance the work life and the family life, because my ambition is definitely not to be like just top manager somewhere, but first and foremost be a great father, which is easy to say, harder to do. I can understand it every single day. But on top of the fatherhood and being husband and working in tech, I do my best also to keep my competitive level in endurance sports. So I would say many people at Kontent.ai think of me as a professional athlete. I need to make it clear I'm not a professional athlete. I work full time, but yeah, seriously, like I do like a high volume endurance training for like 20 plus years. In fact, today we had to move our podcast not because of my training, but I had to pick up my car in the service company and I went there on my road bike to save some time. Essentially what I'm doing every single day is literally like juggling the family work and some serious training. And it's more about, again, discipline, which I don't want to say that I'm the most disciplined person, but somehow I squeeze it in every day. And on top of that, I don't want to speak or talk about myself too long, but I like to influence the environment where I live. So I'm involved also with some non-profit organizations specialized on sports. So we founded a sports club here in the area where I live. We organize mountain bike and running races. And recently, I also started my own podcast, and actually the theme of the podcast is exactly what I said at the beginning, like how to balance different aspects of life and try to do your best in all those disciplines. But yeah, as I like to say, every single morning I wake up, I do my best. Then in the evening, I feel like I'm failing all day long, and then I try again in the morning.
Yeah, I think that's actually, great lesson for people to hear that, even, as a top executive in your field and, an endurance athlete who's performing at such a high level, you still have to weigh all of those options. You still have to make those tough decisions. You still have to feel like, maybe I didn't do my best today. And that's a lot to handle emotionally. I wanted to ask a little bit more about, you mentioned your professional community that you're a part of. What do you think you bring to that community, besides your, expertise and insights, but, as a person who's showing up in your community every day?
Mm-hmm. I like to hope, or I hope that in any community where I'm involved, I bring a bit of drive and energy. Yeah. Also, I would say I think, ambitious person. So I like to even have some strategy and development of that community. I have some plan, basically. At the same time, what we also do with, for example, those local races, we are thinking about how to involve also younger generation, and I think I can say that for those younger athletes who technically could be my sons already, I'm a little bit of like example or role model for them. Yeah, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, one of the young skiers beated me in the race, and I was so happy for him. Of course, like I was not too happy that I didn't win, but the point is that I could see how happy he was. Yeah, so it's, I think, also a little bit leading by example and giving back to the community. I like it, and another aspect, to be honest, is that of course being VP marketing for 6 years, you sometimes feel like you don't do the hands-on work anymore, because of course you typically work with people and you need to focus on the strategy and priorities, etc. So for a couple of years I felt like I'm not doing anything specific every single day. Yeah? And I will get to the point, like for example for our sports club, I did the visual identity and the brand identity myself, which was such a nice exercise. Yeah? It was like just a little task over the weekend, nothing like top professional, but at the same time, like you feel you see the result, and it's also nice feeling to do something like pro bono, not profit, but also see the result. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super cool. And how are you liking your podcast, by the way?
How am I liking it?
Yeah, you're the one that you started it with your brother, right? Yeah. How is it going?
I would say pretty well. Like we went with low ambitions into this project because of course it's another project in our life, and we need to spend some time on it. But for us, the biggest benefit of having the podcast is actually to meet those guests, because they are super interesting. And for us, it's not about the podcast release or publishing the episode. It's rather about meeting with those people and hearing their stories. So I would say, to be completely honest, that podcast platform is rather like cherry on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. So we come to Content Waves to get some advice from professionals in the field of content-led innovation. So since this episode's focusing on celebrating great milestones and juggling what's happening with what's coming next, what advice can you give to our listeners who can navigate change and maybe even lean into the possibilities of change? What would you tell people as you yourself right now are embarking on it, thinking about it, probably reflecting quite a bit on the big changes that are happening in your life?
To be honest, like this recent change that I'm doing when it comes to exploring new things at work, it feels still very, I don't want to say confusing for me, but it feels very weird to think about myself not being with Kontent.ai. So I think I still need to a little bit get some internal personal evaluation of the change at some point. But I think in general, both professionally and personally, like any change is also a journey. And one thing is for sure, that you will learn new stuff. Yeah, you will meet new people. So I don't know too many people who would do some change voluntarily and they would regret it. Yeah. So I think again, what I'm excited about, even though it could be a little bit scary even, I'm excited again for the new journey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're really excited for you too, Vojta. Definitely also still processing the change on our side, but nothing but excitement for you and what's ahead. So we'll be following along with you as well, I'm sure. Since this is Content Waves, podcast about content, we want to make sure that folks get some good recommendations that they can leave with. So can you recommend a book or an article, or you already talked about a podcast, or piece of content that you can find yourself going back to again and again, whether it's, pure enjoyment or something that resonates with you and sticks with you.
Mm-hmm. And so you said a podcast or book or
whatever you need. Podcast, book, or maybe you have one of each, but I already know we're going to direct people to your podcast episodes in the show notes. Of
course. Well, when it comes to the book, I used to read a lot. My PR was like 56 books per year. But now I'm like rather at 5, if I'm lucky, with everything going on in my life. But one book that I would recommend, and I believe it's actually free of charge online. It's called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and it's such a resourceful and a great book. You also know that I'm a little bit interested in like financial management, financial independence, and these things. So the book is a little bit going into the world of finance, but more importantly, it's also, I would say, full of life wisdom. So I consider it as lessons on life as such. Yeah, not like lessons on investing or finance specifically, but about like how to navigate different challenges in life. So that's something I absolutely recommend. And actually, I try to come back to this book sometimes. Yeah? So definitely The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. And when it comes to podcast, as you mentioned, I listen only to podcasts, my own and Content Waves. Now there are more podcasts, but maybe I will choose one that is related to not to work but to the lifestyle and sports, and that's Rich Roll podcast. And that's the guy from the States that was also a big endurance athlete, but now he's also entrepreneur and also into a healthy lifestyle. And he's doing really deep dive interviews with interesting people.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, thanks for all the recommendations. We'll certainly put them in the show notes so everybody can access them. And hopefully they are coming away from this episode with a positive outlook on change, maybe some reflection on what we've been doing for the past 10 years and what we can learn from that, and even pull some lessons from the past that may still be salient now, but we haven't thought about them for a little bit. So I really appreciate the time that you spent with us today, and look forward maybe to further conversations in the future.
Absolutely, Monica. Thank you for having me. It was a great experience as always. And I will be cheering for Content. I will still be one of the biggest advocates.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thank you.